Now we got a guy on. We've had him on many times on the show before. Rodney Harrison from Football Night in America. Rodney, how you doing?
Pretty good. What's going on with Dan? He gets a couple sniffles, and all of a sudden he bows out. He can't play in the fourth quarter. Reminds me of Andy Dalton, huh?
Wow, that's a shot, and that will be recorded and given to him when he comes out of his nap. Rodney, I was talking about your hoop game. You and I both went to Marion Catholic High School, south side of Chicago. Now, which was better early in your career? Because I remember you playing the 1-3-1 defense down there at Marion. How was your hoop game back then?
Dude, you're a smart guy because the 1-3-1, and I actually...
You were the back of the zone. I remember that.
Yeah, and then sometimes I played at the top of the key because the coach wanted to use my speed and quickness. Can you believe that? I'm equating Rodney Harrison with speed and quickness. But, yeah, man, it was fun. I was actually a better basketball player than I was a football player, but I couldn't express my natural personality, which was very aggressive and just always wanting to hit people.
You can't hit people in basketball. Now, the other thing I remember, and we used on the show before, how high was the high top fade you had back in the late 80s? I would say early 90s. It was. I'm putting it at the over under at 3 inches.
It was at least 3 inches, man. I was rocking that because Kid and Play back in the day was one of the guys I looked up. One of the groups I looked up to. So I wanted to be just like them. That was pretty funny.
When you measured yourself at the game program, did you go all the way up to the top of the throw, or did you go to the head?
Well, I go to the top of the high top fade because that's part of my body, the hair.
Rodney Harrison from Football Night in America. We're talking about Thursday Night Football, Browns versus Bengals. And is this more about the Bengals struggling and basically doing nothing last night, or that the Browns are a real team?
Well, I think you have to give the Browns a lot of credit. And Hoyer, he deserves a lot of credit. They got some young talent, and I think Coach Mike Pettin, he's done a wonderful job. You look at the two guys that should be considered Coach of the Year, and that's Bruce Arians as well as Mike Pettin. But I look at the Cincinnati Bengals, and what a disappointment. We've seen all year just the inconsistent play we saw when they went up to the Patriots and flat out got their butts kicked, got out coached. We saw the same thing when they played against Indianapolis when they got shut out, and to come to a tie with the Carolina Panthers and then come back and have that debacle last night. Now, we knew exactly what type of guy Andy Dalton was. We knew in the big games, the primetime games, and the playoff games that he couldn't make the necessary plays. That's why they were never able to get to that next level. But as a franchise, you have to be very frustrated. You paid this guy, you opened up the wallet, and you paid him a lot of money to be able to win games like this. Now, this is the Cleveland Browns. This is not the 84, 85 Bears where they just have an unstoppable defense. If I'm Andy Dalton, I am really, really surprised and disappointed in myself because he had a lot of great playmakers. A.J. Green, Mohamed Sanu, who's played terrific, and he's got a big physical running back. No excuse for him to play that the way he plays.
Well, let me ask you something about Dalton. You say he's not a big game player. Can you develop that, or if you don't have it, you just don't have it?
Man, I just, it's one of those things, man. Can you hit those free throws with 5 seconds left? We know Dan Patrick, he could do it. He can't play sick, but we know he can hit those free throws. It's just something that you have in you. It's that killer instinct. It's that ability to be able to play in those critical moments. And it's almost like when you think of Peyton, and he's always going up to Foxborough and playing when it's 40 degrees or colder. It's almost like he has something in the back of his mind where he has to try harder to be Peyton, to be Brady, and be Belichick. I don't know. I don't think it's something that's natural. I think it's something that's either in you or it's not in you. We see Russell Wilson, his ability to lead the team, and Andrew Luck and those guys, man. I think that's something that you're born with. And in the fourth quarter, in those critical moments, it just happens to come out.
Joe Hayden's one of the better lockdown corners in the league, Cleveland Browns. He took care of A.J. Green last night. If you were in your prime playing safety, would you rather have an all-pro defensive end on your defense or an all-pro cornerback?
Well, I think the times are different a little bit now because I had an all-pro cornerback in Ty Law, and it was, back when we were winning those championships in 03 and 04, it was more kind of a combination of maybe 60% pass, 40% run. Nowadays, it's one of those things where it's 70% pass and maybe 30% run. But I think on cold nights and windy nights like that, I think you want to have a guy. I mean, you can't go wrong with a pass rush. You can never go wrong with a pass rusher because this is a passing league. But on cold nights like that, you want to be able to have a lockdown cornerback that can say, take the best guy out. And we've seen this with Darrelle Revis. He did the same thing to A.J. Green. Now, I don't know if A.J. Green, I don't think he's 100%, so we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But, the cornerback did a real good job on him last night.
Rodney Harrison from Football in America on the Dan Patrick Show. I got a question about the Cowboys and Tony Romo. If you were one of his teammates, what do you want to see him do? What do you want to see him say during the week? Like, does he have to lobby to play, or is it just up to the doctors, or is it up to the owners or the coach? Who has the most say in whether the star quarterback gets in the game?
Well, first of all, if I'm a teammate, I worry about myself, and I worry about doing my job better and focusing on what I have to do to make sure the team's okay. The one thing that Tony Romo has proven over the course of all these years is that he's a tough guy. I mean, he's played through injuries and different things, so he wants to play football. So you got to give him a lot of props and a lot of pub for that. I mean, he's a tough kid. Now, he's made a lot of mistakes and hasn't really been the quarterback that we expected him to be with all the talent that he has, but you can't take away how tough he is. But it's one of those things, I don't worry about what Tony Romo says during the week. It's just a matter of you're playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if we can't beat them with Brandon Wheaton, and I would personally rest Tony Romo and give him another 7, 8, 9 days of rest and rehab and massages and treatment and things of that sort to make sure that he's okay for the rest of the season. I just don't want to take a chance with my star quarterback, in a game like this.
But whose call is that? Is that Jerry? If they were going to rest Romo, who would make the call? Would it be the coach, GM, owner, doctors?
I think it's a combination of everyone. I think they look at Tony and say, how are you doing? How are you progressing? Can you move? Can you make this throw? Can you physically do this? Can you physically do that? And I think it's the doctors. I think it's the head coach. And I think it's more Romo. When you have a veteran player like Romo, you have to be able to trust him and for him to understand that it's not a short-term solution. This is a long season. You have 7, 8 games left. We're looking more long-term, and we need you for the latter part of the season. So when we really make our run, but they should be able to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. But, I think it's a combination of everyone.
Rodney, now, McLovin here on the Dan Patrick Show is a little salty from the last time you were in studio when you depleted him, even though you did it in a nice way. He's got a couple NFL questions for you, so are you ready?
Yep, I'm always ready.
All right, Rodney, these were for Dan. So, that's how easy they are. You should be able to nail these easily because I thought DP was going to answer them. All right, let's start. I'll give you a stat and a question. You answer. Mark Sanchez had 52 turnovers his last 2 seasons with the Jets. Can the Eagles' offense keep rolling with Sanchez?
Yes. You want me to explain why? Just yes or no?
Please explain why.
Yes, because they have 2 really good offensive tackles. He's surrounded by a great group of weapons. Chip Kelly is a better offensive coach than he's ever had. And he's got a run game with McCoy and Sproles. And so I think overall, offensively, they're a lot better. I think he has a lot more confidence in this offense. They got a better offensive line. They got some guys coming back healthy from the offensive line. So Mark Sanchez has shown when you can protect him, he can do things. But if you put pressure on him and the line protection breaks down, then he struggles.
Okay, Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson has gone consecutive home games without throwing a TD. Wilson has had an 84 rating in October and November after a 108 rating in September. Is there something wrong with Russell Wilson in Seattle?
Yeah, he's a young quarterback, and he's going through a transition like most young quarterbacks, and even we've seen veteran quarterbacks go through the same thing. I mean, whether it was Tom Brady at the early part of the season, it happens. It's the National Football League. But the one thing that they've done, they've won the last couple games, and even without him playing his best football, they've had some injuries and trying to get new guys acclimated into the offense. Sometimes you're not going to always have that comfort level, but he's growing, he's learning, and I tell you, it's not many young quarterbacks I want in the fourth quarter outside of Russell Wilson.
All right, staying in the same division, Colin Kaepernick was sacked 8 times last week. On the season, he's been sacked an NFL high 27 times. He used to be down low on the ranks about getting sacked. Is there something wrong with Colin Kaepernick?
Well, I think it's something wrong with the play calling because, he's very effective when you first establish the run. Then you set up the play action. Then he's able to do the read option and things of that sort. But to put him in a position where he's the primary focus, where he has to drop back 20, 25, 30 times without the run game, that's not how he functions productively. So Frank Gore, I think, he had 14 rushes. There's no way Frank Gore should have 14 rushes between he and Carlos Hyde. They should have at least 30 30, 35 carries a game. So I think that's more a byproduct of coaching and Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh not putting them in the best position to have success.
Okay, the Chicago Bears at 3-5. Since 1997, only one team has made the playoffs at 3-6. Is this a must-win for the Chicago Bears against the Green Bay Packers this week?
Yes, it is. No question about it. And people say, well, I don't like to say must-win. This is a must-win because, first of all, you have to have confidence. And if you lose this game and the games in which you lost and the fashion in which you lost against the Patriots, just straight getting blown out, I think you have to win this game. Detroit Lions are a different team, and you have to look at the NFC West. You look at Arizona, you look at Seattle, they're going to be right there in the mix, and you can't discount San Francisco, but also in the NFC East, you got a couple teams in Dallas and even the Philadelphia Eagles, so they have to win this game if they want to have a chance of making the playoffs.
Okay, last one, Rodney. And on a positive note, Big Ben is on pace for career highs in yards and TDs, and he faces a pretty easy defensive schedule coming up. Can he keep this up and have his best season?
Yeah, I don't see why not because he's healthy. You see him; he's not getting hit a lot. I mean, he got hit a couple times in the last month, but he's a big physical guy, and that's 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds. He can take some of that pounding, but I mean, he's making it look really easy. And you talk about going against easy defenses. They got a great run game. Le'Veon Bell, he's terrific out of the backfield. Antonio Brown is a top 3 or 4 playmaker in this league. So I don't see why not. And I love what Todd Haley has done. He said, forget the critics. I'm being aggressive. We go for it on fourth down, play action pass down the middle. I love what they're doing offensively, and this defense is starting to really create pressure and do some really positive things. So I like what he's doing.
All right, that was pretty good, Rodney. But I got to tell you one thing. I've been lifting a lot since you were last year in the man cave.
Rodney, he benched 200 pounds 4 times.
4 times. So next time you try and take me down, I don't think it's going to be so easy.
So let me just say this with the whole weightlifting thing. See, that's the problem when you see a lot of these guys at the combine. They lift weights. They look great. They got 6-packs. They can bench 400 pounds. They can do reps. They can run 4.3. But the one thing that you can't lift weights with is your heart. If you don't have it inside you, you ain't got it, buddy.
Now, Rodney, you're going to be, of course, with Football Night in America, you're going to be in Arizona the entire week, right?
Yes, I will, and I'm definitely coming to your show once or twice, or how many times you invite me, if you invite me.
Can we, if we got your entire, Western Illinois uniform with pads, and we threw passes to McLovin, you got a couple hits left in you?
Of course.
Whoa. Like you could catch me, though? He's got to catch me before he can hit me.
You know what, let's do this. Whatever you're benching in Arizona, I'm going to add 75 pounds more, and whatever you bench, I'll bench the same amount with 75 pounds more on it.
Oh, it's on.
So we'll have like a mini combine? Is that what you're saying? You want to do vertical? I'm in.
Yeah,
Whatever,
let's do that. Let's race a 40. I'll give you 10 yards like I beat up on Hines Ward. Let's do it. Let's just have a mini combine.
Rodney,
start
thanks.
training tomorrow.
I'm really looking forward to the Super Bowl. I already was. Rodney, it's great to have you on. Keep a picture of the high top fade on the website, and thanks for coming on, bud.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Have a good day.
That was Rodney Harrison from Football Night in America.